For talking, by the way. I appreciate it. Your hands must be freezing, man, because mine are getting there. Oh, you have gloves. Yeah, you got to switch them on.
Here is Diane.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Dustin. Very nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I was just having a conversation because I saw your sign before we talked. I have a radio show at SUNY Old Westbury. It's on Long Island.
Oh, great.
It's called Let Your Voice Be Heard. It covers current events and politics, and it's kind of through the eyes of young, urban, maybe some would say underprivileged people, okay?
Right. Great.
But long story short is your sign drew me here, and I was kind of asking about your positions and told them I wanted to have it on recording so I could talk about it on the radio show.
I see. Great. Do you think you could ever have one of our candidates on? I mean, I'm running for Congress in northern Jersey. We have a slate mostly of younger people.
I don't mind if I recorded a little bit of our conversation.
No, sure. That's fine.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That's fine. I don't have a card. Do you have a card so he has all my information? We'll give you a card at the end. Scott's got it. Okay.
All right. Just for the record, so to speak, if you could say your name and what you're running for.
I'm Diane Sayre, S-A-R-E, and I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives in northern New Jersey, the 5th Congressional District.
Okay. What's your background?
Well, my background is I've been a political organizer with Lyndon LaRouche for about 23 years. My training is as a classical musician.
Okay. Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, but as a political organizer, obviously you have to learn all kinds of things. And if you know LaRouche, there's a major emphasis on the science of physical economy, on physical principles.
I don't know LaRouche.
Okay. Anyway, what he did starting about 10 or 12 years ago is to actually recruit a youth movement who worked through Plato's works, Kepler. Now they're doing breakthrough work, following up on Einstein and Vernadsky.
Okay.
So we have a very strong team in science and really the question of human creativity.
So what prompted you to decide to run?
Well, LaRouche is 89 years old, so he ran for president 8 times. He said that he's too old to run, although he said he's not too old to tell someone else what to do.
So that would be you?
Well, that would be the president, actually. But we're running a slate, and hopefully we'll recruit more. Right now, the 6 of us are Democrats, but it will end up being a bipartisan slate.
It's so interesting. People couldn't, I don't have, you have it on video. I don't have it on video. Your sign was, like I said, it was almost borderline offensive. Very strong statement. You have a picture of Obama with like a Hitler mustache saying to impeach him. That's strong. For a Democrat, especially, very strong.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I have to say that if Obama is not removed, the amount of destruction he will cause will be worse than Hitler, because what he is threatening is a confrontation with Russia, which will lead to nuclear war. And then you're talking about an order of billions of people dead.
Where do you make the leap, or, you know, what to kind of bring us to the conclusion of that Obama wants a war with Russia? How do we get there?
Well, let me go back and think about what happened when Hitler came in.
But that's such a harsh comparison. I would rather you, if you could, just explain it without making the Hitler comparison so that people could understand in plain terms.
Right, but I think people can't understand unless they're willing to go there, because the question is, why wasn't Hitler stopped? Why did people let it get to the point where he was incinerating people in gas ovens?
But that's very extreme. I totally respect your position.
Right.
But I just want to understand.
But didn't you always wonder that? I mean, I always wondered, why on earth, how could this ever have possibly happened? And what you see with Obama
with
is
Hitler, you mean?
Yeah, why did people let it happen?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that led to why it happened. An economic depression, you know, post-war mentality.
You also had people in denial, like a lot of people in the German military who didn't think they should invade Poland. But they weren't prepared until near the very end did anyone try to overthrow him.
I'm not going to get into I don't want to get into an argument about it. I just want to know, what evidence could people look at just to see where you're coming from with the whole that we want a war with Russia? Okay.
Well, there's plenty of I mean, first of all, take this defense authorization bill, which Obama just got passed. He insisted on adding a clause that the military could detain U.S. citizens indefinitely without trial, and that American citizens can now also be sent to other places where they can be tortured. This is totally unconstitutional.
That's the National Defense Authorization Act.
Correct. Also, you had the bombing of Libya, which was never authorized by the Congress, and then we killed Gaddafi when he was in custody. Clearly,
we agree that I'm saying me and you will agree that the drones, there's a controversial decision with Libya, for sure. The legislation, the language in the legislation is very controversial. They've been using legal interpretations previously to get around having to give people the rights and get around wiretaps. These things have been going on. This is the language that's scary.
I know,
but I don't necessarily, I can't agree with the whole comparison of the Holocaust and Hitler and what Obama's done.
I know, but that's just, I hate to say it, but you're in denial because the economy is in a total meltdown. The euro is finished. They just got another $500 billion bailout. And what the City of London and Wall Street want is to crush the population. Just crush the population. Get rid of pensions, get rid of Social Security, get rid of health care, tell you to drop dead, you're too old, you're too sick, we don't have the money, get rid of unemployment.
How do you feel about health care and how do you feel about education?
I think that the best health care plan was probably what Conyers proposed, which is a national single-payer plan.
Not familiar with it. If you could break it down in its simplest, what is it?
Well, it would be like Medicare for all. So it would be universal coverage in effect. The way Medicare works, as you know, is people pay into it and then becomes available when they retire. But the real issue is two things. One is we don't have an economy. We don't have a productive economy. There's we can't afford anything. We're not producing. We're just printing money. Number two, Nixon signed the HMOs into law. And that was a very, very destructive act when you say that you can make a profit on sick people.
Right. I on a personal level would, we can get into, I agree with you, but I don't know how you're going to pay for it. And I think that that's really the biggest debate right now in this country, is not that people don't think or want everybody to have medical coverage, it's just how do you pay for it?
Well, but that's the problem of thinking in terms of dollars. See, how do we pay for this bailout? We printed money, and it's causing hyperinflation because what you did is you took money which had some value and used it to buy at 100 cents on the dollar something that really had no value, right? And you destroyed it. Now, our government used to be based on the idea of credit. And the last president who had any understanding of that was Franklin Roosevelt. He didn't run around the soup lines collecting taxes from people to build the TVA. He set up something called the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. He issued about, I think, $46 billion, built the Tennessee Valley Authority, built the rural electrification program. But what happens when you invest that way, initially it's a big debt.
Right.
But what happens is you're employing millions of people, you're raising the standard of living, and you usually get a phenomenal rate of return, but it's not instantaneous.
What about right now, a big issue with the people that I know listen to my show is the cost of education. And recently, locally, the CUNY system decided to institute mandatory tuition hikes, and a lot of people feel that it's not fair.
Right.
What do you think of it?
No, it's not fair. And this is done because what happened, this happened with many school systems, many universities, as they were suckered. It turns out the rating agencies, Moody's and Standard & Poor's, were downgrading municipal debt, and I'm not sure how it worked with the state universities, but I imagine it was similar. So then you had these loan sharks basically come to the universities and say, buy this, buy that, invest in this, you're going to make a real great profit. And what ended up is a lot of these investments went under. And
so you inadvertently blame Wall Street?
Well, Wall Street, I would say certain people probably deliberately intended this, but not everyone. A lot of people on Wall Street just wanted to make money and they didn't care what the consequences were.
What about the kids now?
In terms of what?
In terms of the kids that graduate, I think the average is something like $25,000 in debt for someone who...
No, it's ridiculous. So you need a whole bankruptcy reorganization under something called Glass-Steagall. Are you familiar with that?
No. We were talking about it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, yeah. Glass-Steagall was instituted under Franklin Roosevelt in '33. It was a separation of the savings and loan banks, which are supposed to be transparent, from the speculative banks. So under Glass-Steagall, banks could not sell insurance, they couldn't invest in the money market, everything has to be transparent. And therefore that money gets guaranteed by the federal government. And if you're going to gamble on the market, if you're going to take a risk, you might get a higher interest. But if you lose, you should lose. You shouldn't expect that it's win-win. You're going to get a higher interest rate if it goes well, and if you totally screw up, you're still going to get your money back. I mean, any casino that gave you a money-back guarantee at the door would go out of business.
Well, I think that I can somewhat agree with what you're saying, but I think it's a tough connection for a lot of people to make when you make a bold statement like you did with the sign. To bring it back to that, how do you expect people to react when you make a sign?
Well, I don't particularly expect anything. I'm hoping that people can wake up, because the problem is people don't think. And really since Kennedy, you don't have leadership that thinks in terms of the future. So people don't think, what is the consequence in the future of my action today? So people say to us, where's all the people Obama killed? And we say, well, there's actually a great number, because he refused to do anything about Haiti, for example. You know, he let people
Humanitarian crisis in Haiti.
Yeah, the Army Corps of Engineers said, we got to move these people. They're in a floodplain. You're going to get malaria, cholera. And Obama said no. So you see this kind of callous behavior, and then the Social Security. So you already know he doesn't care for human life, right? So the question is, where does that go? What's the consequence? In an economic meltdown.
Okay. Foreign policy.
Yeah.
U.S. gets involved in other countries coming to the aid of, rebel forces in Libya would be an example of that.
Except we didn't, because the rebels didn't have the forces to take over the country. And I'm not saying that I supported Gaddafi, but clearly what you see now is the rebels never had the forces to govern. NATO came in, created this thing, overthrew Gaddafi, killed him, and now they're trying to kill every member of his family. I mean, it really is sick.
Fast forward, Syria. What's going on there now? Reports that protesters are getting killed, peaceful protesters are getting killed, denials from the government. Should we get involved?
No, not in this way. Absolutely not. We should not threaten. It's a sovereign nation. The Arab League is trying to work things out. The Russians are interested in the thing being stabilized. There are things that can be done to try and mediate, but to do things like place an arms embargo where you only arm the rebels is not really, and to run around publicly saying that Assad should be overthrown, I mean, that is just outrageous. You just don't do that.
So then when you look at a situation like in Haiti, it's a humanitarian crisis, a different type of crisis. Why get involved on that and not in the other where people are still dying?
Because Haiti was a natural disaster of a country. Frankly, we owe them a lot. They helped in the American Revolution. And then we turn around and loot them, and the International Monetary Fund and the World Trade Organization say, no, you can't grow your own food, you have to produce cash crops, you're not allowed to have advanced technology. Then they get wiped out, and then we say drop dead. I mean, that's pretty outrageous.
We did give them money. I mean, we did give them money.
Not the U.S. government. All kinds, I don't know, the last I heard, which was a couple months ago, not a dime that the government allocated had actually been deployed.
Okay. I can't, because I don't know.
Humanitarian groups did, but nothing on the scale. And we know directly that the Army Corps of Engineers wanted to move people to high ground so they wouldn't be affected by the flooding, and Obama personally said no.
What's your biggest problem with Obama as a president?
He's insane. He's nuts.
What 3 things has he done that in your eyes are irredeemable?
Probably stole the election. Probably Hillary won the popular vote, I think. I mean, it's hard. He's a Nero. It's not particularly the things, it's his entire outlook. He has a dispassionate hatred of the human race. He's totally obsessed with himself. And I don't think he realizes he's going to unleash nuclear war. I think he's so much into his own ego, which is why really you want him removed on grounds of insanity. I mean, maybe he can be put in a mental hospital or something.
Again, very extreme statements. You say some smart things, and that's an extreme statement. There's a lot of crooked people in politics. There's a lot of people doing a lot of horrible things.
I know,
he has a cabinet. He has a Senate and a House of Representatives to help him make decisions. It's not just him.
But he doesn't listen to them. He does not listen. As far as we can tell, Michelle, Valerie Jarrett, and Michelle's mother are sort of running things around the White House. Obama is largely dysfunctional. He can't handle he is a narcissist. He cannot handle one-on-one relations. So he likes to be in front of big crowds. He can handle that, but if it's small, intimate gatherings, he can't. He's notorious for walking out of briefings on what's going on in Afghanistan.
Do you think that as President of the United States, a personality trait is important as far as being able to have a conversation with people? How is that?
Yes, absolutely, because you're supposed to defend the general welfare of the population. So therefore you have to love the you actually have to be impassioned about the good of the population. It should irk you to no end to see a child dying of malnutrition, a senior citizen not able to get health care. All these things should be taken personally.
He has a lot of challenges, though. I mean, right, can we agree on that? Like, for instance, if he's trying to get any jobs legislation passed and he gets blocked in the House of Representatives by the Republicans, is that his fault?
But he's not trying to get any jobs legislation passed. His work thing, whatever it was called, the Jobs Bill.
American Jobs Act.
Yeah, that was to take people who are unemployed, collecting unemployment compensation from the government to be used by corporations as slave labor. So the corporations get free labor temporarily. They're not going to give these people jobs.
All right, I didn't read that in what I read. That's pretty extreme.
I'm telling you, that's what's in the bill.
I read there was some money for some infrastructure. I read there's some money for some education.
He said he supported high-speed rail. Where's the high-speed rail? He just lies, and then you read the fine print and forget it.
Well,
he's nuts.
Let's say he lies. I don't say, but let's say he lies. What about the Republicans independently? Take Obama out of it. What do you think about the Tea Party Republicans, the freshman Republicans?
There's a few Republicans who are decent.
What do you think of John Boehner?
He's nuts. He's just like Obama.
Okay.
They play golf together, you know, what can you say? And this pack of candidates is a total disaster, which is why I think so many Democrats are feeling like they have to apologize for Obama, because the Republicans are such a mess. They're saying, oh my God, if that's what we're faced with, let's just suck it in and pretend he's okay and go along with it.
If not Obama, who?
I mean, there's a write-in movement for Hillary Clinton. See, if he were...
Don't you think that could do more damage than good if you divide the party? Right now, the biggest weakness about the Republicans, as I see it, is that they have so many candidates fighting.
No. The party is going to largely vote against Obama. That's what happened last November. How do you think all these crazy Republicans got in?
So what's the Democratic Party going to do?
I have no idea. They should wake up and stop acting like jerks.
We know that they're not. We know that they're not going to impeach the president. I'm just saying.
Why do we know that?
Well, because it's not going to happen. He's almost done anyway. Wouldn't it be easier to just get him, not get him elected?
No, we don't have time. We're looking at possible nuclear war in the short term and a blowout of the entire
That is such an extreme
system.
opinion. From what we are exposed to, just
yes,
as average Americans,
yes.
And what we read in the New York Times,
right.
That's a very extreme statement.
Right. Well, I would recommend that people go to the internet and look up the two national addresses just given by Russian President Medvedev and the Prime Minister Putin, because they're very
What's happening with Russia? Because I want people to understand. There was a switch. One was the prime minister, one was the president. And didn't they want to switch roles or something?
Well, they're about to. That election is coming up. They just had elections.
And now the billionaire who owns the Nets is talking about running. This is what I read in the Times.
Yeah. No, there's a big move by the British to destabilize Russia. They did control the finance minister, and he just got fired, which was excellent. What the British want is for Russia not to develop. They want to use them for raw materials. So you have people like Gorbachev, who's a totally pro-British patsy. Putin and Medvedev are nationalists. That is, they want to build high-speed rail through Siberia. They want to develop Siberia, the space program. They want to work with the United States, build the Bering Strait Tunnel, which we should really do, and we could have a real collaboration with Russia if we would gear up our space program, which they would really like us to do.
Russia, I was reading something. I don't remember if it's you have to forgive my ignorance. I don't know if it's the IMF that they recently became the, something 100th country to join, and they were having this interview and speaking with a Russian economist who said that it's the best thing that could happen because now, by being a member of this international bank or whatever, that they would be forced to get rid of a lot of the fraudulent activities that go on there now. So in other words, he wasn't painting a very secure picture of Russia.
All right. Well, I don't know what you're referring to, so I can't respond to that.
Okay.
But I would say that I mean, look, the whole global system right now is a disaster. And the source of wealth is not money, it's human creativity. And that's the idea of having a credit system, is you plan, where should our nation be 50 years from now? You would hope you would have more people with a greater life expectancy who were healthier, who were better educated, which means making certain scientific breakthroughs.
How does impeaching Obama help that?
Well, you remove a gigantic obstacle to progress. That's the main thing. He's anti-science. He's anti-progress.
I respect the fact that you have an opinion, and I'm glad that you're out here voicing it, because I think the most important thing is for people to have an opinion. So it was very nice talking with you. I appreciate everything that you want to. Oh, is there a website or anywhere people could go to if they want to get more information?
Yeah, the website is larouchepac.com, LaRouchePAC.com.
Okay. Last question. I forgot to ask this. My show, there's 4 black co-hosts, so I'm like the only white host on the show.
Okay.
What do you say to the minority community? I mean, is there anything in particular that you think that they should be thinking about? Because I know from speaking to them, a lot of them support Obama.
I mean, the point is, there's one race, it's the human race. We're in a lot of trouble. This guy is a traitor. It has nothing to do with what he looks like. He was chosen for the job. He's a tool of certain interests. And he's got to be removed peacefully, constitutionally, but we really risk not surviving the next year with him in the White House.
Thank you again so much.
Thanks.
I really appreciate it. It was very nice to meet you.
You too. Now, you gave me a card art.